One signature, that's all it took. To end a marriage and build an empire. I sat there in the dark, locked inside my own shop, by my own husband. No food, no water, no light.
You're stupid! You're just a village girl who knows nothing.
He thought he had broken me. He didn't know every piece of furniture in his house, every fridge, every cushion was bought with my money, in an apartment that legally meant nothing without me. He didn't know that 3 months earlier, on an ordinary Thursday, I wrote my own name on a delivery invoice, a small, meaningless thing. By sunrise, he'd lose his goods, his shop, and his home. And he'd hand me the keys himself. This is my story.
Bunmi was born the third of 5 children, in a small southwestern town where the roof leaked in 2 places and her mother fried akara by the roadside from 4 every morning. Nobody expected much from a house like that, and for a long time, life agreed. She finished primary school. She started secondary school. Then her father's leg was crushed at the sawmill, and the money that was meant for her school fees became the money for his medicine. She was 12 years old when her books closed for good. But Bunmi had something no classroom ever gave her: a sharpness. By 14, she was catching the mistakes in her mother's akara money before her mother even saw them. By 17, she had talked her way into a job as a salesgirl at a small provision store in town. Within a year, the owner, an older woman everyone called Madame, had handed her the keys, the till, and the buying. That girl cannot read past JSS 2. Madame used to say, but she can smell profit from across the road. It was true. Put Bunmi behind a counter and she became someone else entirely. She remembered names. She remembered what a man bought the December before and asked after his wife by name. She knew which customer wanted a discount and which one only wanted 20 minutes of being listened to before he bought anything at all. Quietly, without ever raising her voice, she made that shop more money than it had ever made. Then Uche arrived, the way Harmattan arrives. Suddenly, and dressed well. He was a trader from the city, home for a cousin's burial. Somebody's aunt knew somebody's mother, and before Bunmi understood what was happening, Uche was sitting in her mother's parlor with a cold bottle of malt sweating in his hand, telling her she was the wife he had been searching for his whole life. He was not unpleasant to look at, and he spoke about the future with the confidence of a man who had not yet made the money he was describing. He told her mother he owned a shop in the city. He told Bunmi he was tired of city girls who only knew how to spend, that he wanted a serious woman, a woman who could build. Bunmi was 26. Her younger sister had already married. She had heard what the market women said about a girl who waited too long. And here was a real city businessman, looking at her like she was something rare. She said yes. It moved fast. The introduction, then the bride price before the rains, the wedding before the year turned. Less than 5 months from the day he first sat in her mother's parlor to the day he carried her away to the city. The night before she left, her mother called her into the back room. "Sit down," her mother said. "I will not keep you long." She took Bunmi's hand, the same hand that had fried akara in hot oil for 30 years, hard in some places, soft in others. "You are going to a man's house, a man you have known 5 months. I am not saying he is bad. I am saying you do not know him yet. A person is like a market. You only see what they put out on display. What they keep in the storeroom, you find out later. Sometimes much later. Mama, Uche is a good man. Maybe. I pray so." Her mother's voice dropped low. "Whatever happens in that house, look out for yourself. Be smart. Keep your sense in your own head and never in his pocket. A woman who forgets herself inside her husband's dream will wake up one day with nothing in her hand, not even the dream. You hear me? I hear you, Mama. Say it back. Look out for myself. Be smart. Keep my sense." Bunmi did not know it yet, but those 3 sentences would one day be worth more than every promise Uche had ever made her. The city swallowed her whole. Within her first month, Bunmi had already heard of shops looking for an experienced sales rep and mentioned it to Uche over dinner. He put down his spoon. "Sales rep? For who?" He took her hand across the table, gentle, warm. "Why will you take that sharp brain everyone in your town praised and use it to make some stranger rich when you and I can build something that is ours, something our children will inherit? Your shop is small. Ooh, it is small now. But with you inside it, we will turn it into something. You will not be a salesgirl for a stranger. You will be a partner, a madame, the wife of the owner." It was the word partner that did it, because Bunmi had a dream that had nothing to do with herself. She wanted children who would never have their schooling ended by a leaking roof or a father's crushed leg. Her own education was a door already closed. Her children's would not be. She never noticed that when she asked what her actual share of the business would be, he never once gave her a straight answer. She entered that tired little shop the way rain enters dry ground. Within 3 months, nobody recognized it. She learned every price until she could quote them in her sleep. She kept a small book with every customer's name and what they bought, so when a man's freezer was due for servicing, she called him first. 2 customers became 10. 10 became a whole street that told each other, "Go to that shop near the junction. Ask for the madame. She will treat you well." And here is where the quiet second half of Uche's plan revealed itself, though Bunmi was working too hard to see its shape. At the end of the first good month, Uche pressed money into her hand. Not a partner's share, though he was careful never to name it as anything less. "Use it for the house," he said. "Look at where we are living. Is that the home of a serious couple? You are the wife. The home is your duty. The shop is my headache. Let me carry that." It sounded right. It even sounded like love. So Bunmi took her own sweat, her own selling, and poured it into a house with Uche's name on the rent agreement. New fridge. New curtains. A real bed. A dining set. Every month her cut came, and every month it disappeared into walls and floors that were never hers. She was growing his shop with one hand and furnishing his house with the other, and at the end of every single month, Bunmi owned exactly nothing. She told herself it was for the children who were not yet born. If your own mother, or anyone who raised you, ever gave you a piece of advice you didn't fully understand until years later, tell us in the comments. Stay with me, because Bunmi is about to find out exactly what Uche kept in his own storeroom. There was one thing Bunmi could not explain away. By the 4th month, Uche was never in the shop. He arrived in the morning, drank his tea, made 2 or 3 calls, and disappeared for a meeting. Some days he returned before closing. Many days he did not. The shop opened with Bunmi. The shop closed with Bunmi. Customers stopped asking for the owner. They asked for the madame. "Where do you go every day?" she asked once, carefully, not as an accusation. "Suppliers. Bank. You think money grows in the shop by itself? Somebody has to chase the big contracts. That is the man's work. You face the counter. I face the streets." She had no proof of anything, and a wise woman does not throw stones at a shadow. So she swallowed the small cold thing that had begun to live in her chest. A thing that never fully left. She did not know yet that it was not jealousy. It was instinct. And instinct, in a woman like Bunmi, is rarely wrong for long. It came to a head on an ordinary Thursday. The biggest delivery the shop had ever ordered was arriving. Freezers, generators, cookers, enough stock to carry the shop for months. The supplier's agent arrived with an invoice that needed a signature before the goods could be released the next morning. "Where is Uche?" the agent asked. Bunmi called him once. No answer. Twice. Switched off. A 3rd time. Nothing. "Madame, I have 3 more jobs today. Either somebody signs now, or your goods join the back of the queue next month." Bunmi looked at the blank line that read "goods received by." Uche was not there. The goods had to be signed for. She was the one who was always there. So she picked up the pen, and on that line, she wrote her own name. Bunmi. Full and clear. It meant nothing to her in that moment. She had no way of knowing she had just signed for her own future. The goods arrived the next morning. Bunmi swept the shop, cleared space, and stood with her book, ticking off each carton as the laborers stacked them high. She was genuinely happy that morning. The shop was full, business was good, and she let herself imagine the children again. The uniforms. The future, arriving 1 carton at a time. That was when goodness crossed the road. She sold provisions 2 shops down, and she and Bunmi were friendly the way market women are friendly. Small talk, borrowed change, shared complaints about the heat. But that morning, goodness was not smiling. "Bunmi, my sister, I don't know if I should tell you this, but if it were me, I would want somebody to tell me." She looked away, then back. "I saw your husband this morning. At the hotel along the expressway. He was with a girl, a young girl. They went inside together. Maybe it was a meeting. He does business meetings. It was not a meeting." Goodness's voice was gentle and terrible. "And that is not even the part that pains me. My cousin works at that hotel. She sent me this morning. She said the man was laughing, telling the girl not to worry about you. She brought out her phone. She said he called you something." "Called me what?" "He called you his village salesgirl. He said, 'Do not mind her. She's just my village salesgirl. She knows nothing.'" Goodness turned the phone around. There was no mistaking him. his hand resting on the back of a girl in a tight red dress, walking into that hotel like the world already belonged to him. Underneath the photo, a voice note played. Faint, unmistakable, his own laugh. Something broke in Bunmi's chest that morning, and it made no sound at all. She did not cry. The laborers kept bringing down the goods. The street kept moving. She stood holding her book while the numbers she had written so carefully began to swim in front of her eyes. Her hands went cold, the way hands go cold when the body already knows something the heart is still refusing. A village salesgirl. She had thought she was building a marriage. She had been building a man's lie. Every curtain she hung, every cushion she bought, every customer she remembered by name, every naira poured into that house. And to him, she was nothing. Not a wife. Not even a partner. A village girl who knew nothing. Are you all right? Goodness touched her arm. Bunmi, talk to me. I am fine, Bunmi said, from very far away. She was not fine. But she had learned long ago, in a house with a leaking roof, that there is a kind of pain you cannot afford to show in public. So she folded it up, put it away, and turned back to her goods. But a person bleeding on the inside cannot work the way a whole person works. And somewhere in the late afternoon, the bleeding cost her. A man came to buy a generator. New stock, the same model that had cost 95,000 naira from the supplier. Bunmi's mind was 100 kilometers away. He offered 70,000. She heard the figure, and instead of laughing and starting the dance she had done 1,000 times before, she simply nodded. Okay, she said. 70. He could not believe his luck. He paid before she could come back to herself and carried the generator out almost at a run. It was only after he left that the number caught up with her. A loss she had never made once in her whole life, not even as a 17-year-old girl behind a counter. She sat down slowly. For the first time that day, 2 tears came, hot and quiet, before she wiped them away. Uchi came back just before closing. He had not been at any meeting. She could see it now, the looseness in his walk, the smell of somewhere he had no business being. He went straight to the till the way he always did, and the figures did not add up. That was the night he shouted until his voice cracked. He told her she was uneducated, that he had picked her out of a leaking house in a bush village, that he had given her a roof, a name, a shop to stand in, and this was how she repaid him. He told her she was praying for his downfall. In a small gap in his shouting, Bunmi did the bravest thing she had done all day. Uche. Somebody saw you today. At the hotel. With a girl. The shop went silent. For 1 second, 1 single second, she saw it cross his face. The guilt. The knowing. And then he buried it under something uglier. So that is it. Somebody filled your empty head with rubbish, and now you want to punish my business. You are happy, eh? That is why you sold my generator for nothing. Go inside. Go and stand inside the shop. I am only asking you a simple question. Go inside. Now. And because she was tired, and because that day had already taken everything she had to give, Bunmi stepped back inside. She thought he would cool down. She thought he would lock the front and they would go home and shout it out the way couples shout. Instead, Uche pulled the metal door shut with her still inside. She heard the scrape. She heard the slam. She heard the padlock click. You will stay here tonight, he said through the metal. With the goods you tried to destroy. No food. No water. Maybe by morning your head will be correct. His footsteps walked away. The street sounds faded, and Bunmi was alone in the dark, locked inside a shop full of goods, with no food, no water, and a marriage lying in pieces at her feet. Stop for a moment and sit inside that dark shop with her. Her husband has cheated on her. He has called her a village salesgirl in front of strangers. He has taken everything she built and locked her inside a metal box like an animal, then walked home to sleep in the bed she bought. What would you do? Would you cry? Would you call your people? Tell me honestly in the comments. Because what Bunmi did next is the reason this story is being told at all. She did not cry. She did not scream. She did not even quarrel with the dark. She sat down on a carton, and she let the noise in her head go quiet, the way her mother had taught her over hot oil at 4 in the morning. She thought about the 5 fast months. The word partner. The house with his name on it. The hotel. The laugh. His village salesgirl. The years stretching ahead. Growing his shop, furnishing his houses, while he laughed with girls in red dresses and called her nothing. And then she remembered one more thing. One small thing his shouting had completely forgotten. The biggest batch of goods the shop had ever held had been delivered that very morning, and the name on the line that said who had received them. The name any agent, any supplier, any policeman would read was not Uche. It was Bunmi. In the darkness, For the first time in many hours, she smiled. Then she remembered the rest. Who had furnished that house? The bed, the fridge, the cushions, the fans, the matching plates. All of it, with her money, her sweat. And Uche had told her so himself, again and again, with his own mouth. The home is your duty. The home is your own responsibility. Well then, the home was her own. By the time gray light came under the metal door, Bunmi was not tired anymore. She had a plan, complete and quiet, the way only a plan built by an underestimated mind can be. She only needed Uche to open the door and leave, like he always did. He came at 7, looking rough but pleased with himself. A man who fully believed he had taught his wife an important lesson. "Are we going to have a problem?" he said. "Or have you learned sense?" Bunmi stood, smoothed her wrapper, and looked at him with eyes that gave away nothing. A woman who can do that, keep her face still while her whole inside is moving like a market, is a woman you should be afraid of. "No," she said quietly. "We will not have a problem. I thought about everything last night. You are right. I want to put this behind us." He relaxed instantly. Of course he did. This was exactly what he expected. "Good. I have to see the supplier about the balance. Open the shop. I will come back this afternoon." Safe journey. He walked away, satisfied, never once looking back, never once feeling the ground already shifting under him. The moment he turned the corner, Bunmi made 2 calls. The first, to a truck driver she knew from her dealings with suppliers. "I have a load to move today. Furniture. Come to this address." The second, to another driver. "Come to the shop. There are goods to load. Bring boys." Then she opened the shop exactly as instructed, arranged her face into the same calm madame the whole street knew, and waited. The truck for the goods came first. Carton after carton. Freezers, generators, cookers, the entire new batch, every unit carrying her name on the invoice. And here's the part Bunmi had counted on all night. Nobody on that street thought twice. For months, she had been the one who handled every delivery, every order, every dispatch. So when the neighbors saw cartons loading onto a truck outside the shop, they assumed exactly what they always assumed. The madame was filling a big order. 1 or 2 even waved. Goodness, 2 shops down, waved as well. Bunmi waved right back. She sent the truck ahead and went home, where the second lorry already waited at the gate. Then she packed her home. She took everything. The bed she had bought. The fridge. The cushions. The curtains. The dining set. The matching plates. Both fans. Down to the last spoon and the last small stool. Every single thing she had bought with her own money. The home Uche had told her, with his own mouth, again and again, was hers to build and hers to keep. By the time she finished, the apartment he would return to was as bare as the day they moved in. Bare walls. Bare floor. Even the old dripping fridge, gone. Nothing left but faded marks on the wall where her life used to hang. She climbed into the lorry. She did not cry. She did not look back. 2 trucks. 1 quiet woman. By noon, Bunmi was gone, rolling toward a new town, a new life, a full batch of goods in her name, and a house of furniture she had paid for with her own 2 hands. Uche did not notice for hours. He spent the afternoon exactly where he spent all his afternoons, not at the shop. It was only at nightfall, when a fellow trader called to ask why his shop had stood open and empty all day, that the first cold finger of fear touched him. He rushed to the shop. Empty, the entire new batch gone. He rushed home. Empty, his wife gone, the furniture gone, even the dripping fridge gone. He stood alone in his bare parlor in the dark and, for the first time in his life, understood what it feels like to have everything taken from you in a single day. He went to the supplier, shouting that his goods had been stolen. The agent calmly pointed to the invoice. "Received by Bunmi. Your wife signed for these goods. As far as our records go, they belong to the person who received them. This is a family matter. Go and settle it in your house." He went to the police. They asked whose name was on the goods. They asked whose money had bought the furniture. And then, in his own fury, Uche admitted he had locked his wife inside the shop overnight with no food and no water. The officer's face changed when he heard that part, and Uche understood the station was not a place he wanted to be standing in either. He called everyone who knew her. He messaged, he begged, he raged. None of it worked. Bunmi had vanished into another town, another state, another world, exactly as she had planned from the beginning. He reached her only once. The phone rang inside a small, freshly rented shop, where Bunmi was arranging her first display of brand new goods under a signboard with no man's name on it anywhere. She let it ring twice before answering. Bunmi, you think you are clever? You think you can steal from me and disappear? Bring my goods back, or I swear I will travel to your village myself. I will tell the police your mother received stolen goods. I will have that old woman locked up. Is that what you want? For a moment, Bunmi said nothing, and in that silence, Uche perhaps believed he had finally found her one soft place. Then she spoke, and her voice was the calmest it had been in a very long time. Uche, listen to me once, because I will only say this one time. You will not touch my mother. If you try, here is exactly what happens. I have the photo of you walking into that hotel. I have the recording of your laugh. And I have you locking me inside that shop overnight with no food and no water. People saw it. People know it. And I have not finished. From today, I will call your customers. Every one from the very list I built with my own hand. I will tell each of them exactly the kind of man you are. I will not rest until the last customer has walked out of your shop for good. You took my years. Now I am taking your name. The line went quiet. Then, having nothing else left in his hand, Uche did what small men always do at the end. He cursed her. Bunmi listened to every word, said goodbye, and ended the call. She never picked up his number again. The city is a small place for a story like that. Neighbors pieced it together. The empty shop, the empty house, the big trader who locked his own wife inside for one night and woke to find nothing left in his hand. Nobody said it to his face, but behind his back, the whole junction laughed. His own village wife packed his entire life into 2 lorries while he was busy at the hotel, and he opened the door for her himself. He gave her the keys. His business never recovered. Bunmi never even needed to make those calls. The ones who knew the story were already too ashamed to be seen buying from his shop. It grew quieter and quieter, until one day it simply did not open again. And Bunmi built, in her new town, with the goods that carried her own name and the money she finally kept for herself. A real shop, hers from the floor to the signboard. She did what she had always done. Learned every customer's name, smiled at people the city had trained to expect rudeness, arranged her shop so the eye landed first on the expensive things. 2 customers became 10. 10 became a street that told each other, "Go and see Madame Bunmi. She will treat you well." Within 2 years, she had 3 girls working under her and was opening a second shop. Look out for yourself. Be smart. Keep your sense in your own head. Bunmi had heard every word her mother said in that back room. She had not screamed. She had not begged. She had simply kept her wits and waited for the right morning to open the door. Now, every day, under her own name, she builds the future of children who will never once have to beg a stranger to fill out a form for them. The end. If you stayed with Bunmi all the way to the end, thank you. I mean that. Tell me honestly, was Bunmi right to take everything and walk away the way she did? Or do you think she went too far? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one.